Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Sledgehammer Fight Show, Australia's #1 fight show. We've got a huge show today. We talked to Dane and Big Daddy Kool, having his first fight in Brisbane in 4 years. Also, we preview the Warriors at War. On October the 11th, we have Kimberly here, who fights Shorty Williams, and also talk to Melina Young. Ladies and gentlemen, the first guest on my right-hand side is Miss Melina Young from the Urban Fight Gym at the Gold Coast. Melina, you've just come off a win for the Queensland title against the very tough and talented Eden Reindeers.
Yes, I did. It was a really tough fight. She's an extremely tough and talented fighter. So yeah, it was a good 5-by-2 full tie rules. Yeah, it was really good.
I tell you what, you did pick a tough customer to go against too.
Yeah,
seems very talented and cool under pressure, and that's a real feather in your cap too.
Yeah, no, it's a good fight. I can't actually wait to see the footage myself. I never remember my fights afterwards. So.
Yeah, neither do I, because I'm usually knocked out at the end of them, but that's okay. Yeah, now you've got a few more tournaments and they're coming up, and hopefully some fights by the end of the year.
Yeah, I've got the Australian National Championships coming up in October. So that's a padded show, or tournament I should say, to get into the World Games next year in 2015. And there's a couple of fights that potentials in at the end of this year as well. So.
Geez, that's the way to go, and you kept pretty busy. You've had a dozen fights now too, for 8 wins?
Yes, so 12 fights, and I've had, I think, 6 this year.
Oh, that's excellent. What else you're doing too, which is good, and it's helping the sport a lot. We've got the registered fighters now, because a lot of times in the old days, people could lie about their fighters' records and not do bloods, and Queensland were a little bit slow in catching up to the rest of Australia with it. But with the fighters, nationally registered fighters, we're catching up quite nicely. Yes,
I've been running Nationally Registered Fighters Australia for about 2 years now. It's all about helping promoters, gyms and fighters connect. So we promote fighters, help to match fights across Australia, and also keep up-to-date fight records online. Yeah, and basically we've got a lot of things that we're trying to do to help the sport and do some really positive things in the industry.
And you're still working with a lot of the kids at Urban. I know Richard was very big on developing the young people coming through the sport.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of good kids classes, a kids and teenage class at Urban. So yeah, they're cranking a bit at the moment, which is good.
Good start. And the next Urban Fight Night, that's on November the 9th, I believe.
That's right. It's a fully padded full tie rules show. So it's all for anyone from 0 to fights all the way up to however many fights. They have a couple of unpadded at the end of the day, but it's a really good day for families to come along and people to get in there, have their first fight, or have their first full tie rules fight as well.
That sounds great too. Well, Melina, on behalf of the fight show and everybody watching, we're really pleased you came on today, and congratulations on the success you've had, and more success that's sure to come in the future.
Great, thanks for having me on.
The pleasure's all ours. Okay, our next guest today is Kimberly Orange. Now, Kimberly's got a fight coming up on the Warriors at War on October the 11th, up against Lauren Williams. Now, you girls got the fight of the year last year.
Yeah, it was really
at the Mansfield Tavern.
Yeah, that was probably one of my best fights I've fought. I was in the best shape I ever have been. I'm looking for the win again. Hopefully I'll go a lot more quicker this time though. Yeah,
Lauren's a tough opponent. Sometimes the work rate can be an issue with it, but
yeah,
the ability is never an issue as Lauren's. Brilliant kicker, good on the elbows. And it's a funny thing, like you girls are friends outside of the ring, but when there's fights coming up, things get a little bit strained. I suppose the best word you can call your frenemies at the moment.
Yeah, you definitely got to try and stay on track and not really picture it as a friend when you're in there. But as soon as the bell goes, I think I'm a bit more competitive with her because I don't want to lose to a friend. I'll end up bagging each other out. So
it's funny you say that. Some of the best friends that I've made in this business with guys like Ian Jacobs, Brian Murphy, Scotty Bannon, and I'll guarantee you, as soon as that bell rang, I just wanted to hurt those boys. Never worked out that way, of course, but that was the plan anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Now, Kimberly, you've had a good 22 fights now, and you're at Urban Gym as well.
Yeah.
It's good because you had a bit of bad luck with going to different gyms. I had a chance to work with you myself at one stage, which was great.
I did. I really loved it up there as well. I think because I move houses so often, like I've lived all around Brisbane, now I'm down the coast, and just trying to juggle work and then fitting in training times, like they don't exactly fit in well together. So I've had to try new places just to try and keep everything juggling well.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, normally when a fighter changes gyms, it's tough for them to really perform well, but you've managed to win at every gym that you've been at. So that's a good thing. And now that you're settled at Urban, it should work out a lot better for you too.
Yeah, I've only had I think I had 2 losses at the start of the year, but headspace just wasn't there. So, but being with Richie, I find he's really good with like harsh criticism. Like earlier on this week, he wasn't the weight I wanted to be, so relinquished the title, which is good because it motivates me to kind of work harder for it. And you feel like you're back at square one, but you're going to train harder kind of thing to get it back, and which I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah, for sure. Now, this fight at the Warriors War with Lauren, that is the main event too, isn't it?
It is.
Right, as well as should be. It's going to be a marquee event. Yeah. That's good. Have you got any future opponents that you like to match up with there?
I do want to fight Kim Townsend again because I don't feel I was 100% when I fought her. There's a lot of girls I really want to fight, like Carol Earl. I do eventually want to fight Sarah Rankin again, but when I'm ready for it and I feel like my training's 100%, because I think she's definitely probably one of the toughest opponents I've ever had. And I wouldn't mind going upper weight division as well and fighting Sam Brown.
That would be a good fight to see. So would Sarah, because she's a talented lady too.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you coming along, and just want to see you go well in your fight career.
Thank you.
No, the pleasure's all ours. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thanks.
Okay, now ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to Steve Della's Fortitude Boxing Gym for the gym segment with the model. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, once again it's technique workshop time at the Fortitude Boxing Gym behind the Waterloo Hotel at the Fortitude Valley. And once again, we're lucky enough to have the male model, Alex Sinitsky, with us. Alex, thanks for coming today.
Nice shirt, mate.
Don't knock John Cena. I'll have you know, John and myself happen to be quite good mates.
No, you're not.
Oh, it's true. When he was making their first movie, The Marine, I asked him if he was going to be in all 3 movies. He said, "No, Jimbo, I'll probably just kick out at 2. Now that joke, everyone, is for about half a dozen of my wrestling buddies on the internet in the States. So Big Desmond Shepherd, Kiwi Vegas, Jose Rivera, I hope you're watching today. Okay, what we're going to do today is show you the art of throwing the roundhouse kick. It's not often used in the Muay Thai game, it's great in the martial arts game, but it's a very effective, very powerful kick. Alex, if you can grab that pad, please, we'll get started. Now, there's a certain way of throwing these kicks, and that's what we're going to work on today. And now what we're going to do, we're going to throw it off the left leg first, which for a lot of fighters who are orthodox, meaning they're right-handed, is they're coming up. Now with this kick, it's very important to have a square-shouldered stance. If I have a narrow stance and I try and kick, it's like I've drank 15 rums. I have no balance and I can't kick with any power whatsoever. So what we do is we work on having a square-shouldered stance, meaning your feet are in line with your shoulders. Your body's in perfect symmetry. Okay, now what we're going to do with this kick, there's 2 ways of throwing it. The old way we got taught was to bring that leg out to the side, like a dog having to pee against a tree, bring it out to the side and kicking that way. But as you can see, I'm a little bit off balance with it and I'm leaning backwards. I'm making what's called the dreaded T shape. Okay, now the way I like to throw it and the way I will employ anyone watching this show to throw this kick, it's like this. You take the half step up, your knee comes up to there, because in theory, every kick is an extension of a knee. Okay, a half step up, like that, balance and come back. Now this is the important part. It's like when you're throwing a punch, you don't just throw your punch and lob over like that. If I'm throwing a kick against someone like the model, and I've kicked and I've just flopped down, that leg kick's going to come straight in. And believe me, after a little while, they start to tickle. So the way to throw this kick, you're facing up to your opponent, half step up, pivot. Okay, you're going to notice when I kick, if you just pan the camera down to my foot, you're going to see how my foot pivots when I kick. Half step up, pivot, and you can pivot back. All comes back to your footwork. If you have good balance, even if you have bad stretch, head kicks aren't a problem for you. Okay, now what we're going to do now is throw it off the back leg. I'm a natural left-hander and a left footer, so I'm going to have to switch for you. Okay, as plus I've got a bit of a dodgy back, and throwing them off the back leg on the right's a little bit tough for us. But, other way with the pad. With this kick, once again, you're bringing that knee up high. Now this kick is brilliant off the back foot, and it's one you can use from a long range distance. Okay, now with this, I use this part of the foot to land, and what I do is I aim for the neck, because if I try and kick too high, I can get overbalanced and the model can duck underneath it. But if I'm kicking for the neck when he ducks, I can still collect him right across the side of the face. And it is a very good knockout kick. It's very effective in the ring too. Headhunter Murphy, a well-known local fighter, was brilliant at them, and he had a string of knockouts with these kicks. So we'll just show you slowly once more, or quickly once more, sorry, and then we'll give the model a crack. Hey Alex, thanks very much for holding. I think it's only fair we give you a bit of a go at this today too. Since we've got the camera on this side, we want to start with your right foot.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what you're going to notice with Alex's stance, like myself, he's square shouldered and he's keeping his elbows in and his hands up high. One thing I should have emphasised earlier, when you're kicking, do not kick with your hands down. It's great when you're posing for photos, but when someone knocks you out, nobody wants to take your photo. Okay? So we're going to have a go at that. Oh, beautiful. How good's that kick? Beautiful. You're going to notice when the model kicks, the knee comes up high first and he pivots. Perfectly balanced. Whoosh. Ooh. Tell you what, that'll put your head in the fifth rate, no problems at all. Alex, thanks for helping out today.
All right, Jimmy.
Hey, go back to your photo shoots. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you know I'm dressed like this, it can only mean one thing. We have Big Daddy Kool, Dane Beauchamp on the show. Dane, thanks very much for coming on today.
Thanks, mate.
Mate, a lot of people are very excited about your next fight coming up. It's the first time you fought in Brisbane for 4 years on the Preacher Fight Night.
Yeah, it is. I've been fighting abroad or interstate for the last 4 years. There hasn't really been too many big events in Brisbane, but when I was in Malaysia with Preacher for Revolution, he hit me up to fight on his next show, and I've been watching Preacher fight since I was a 13-year-old kid, so anything I can do to help him out.
Yeah, that's good too. And I know Adam King and Preacher are very keen to bring the Muay Thai back to Brisbane a lot. As you know, as with Blake, we've had some great shows, but no big shows. Probably not since Evolution went overseas to Malaysia.
Yeah, that's right. There's been some good local shows and good local battles in Queensland, but no really big interstate or international fight cards for a while now, and they're looking at bringing that back, so I'm all for it.
As it happens, a lot of the guys that are getting fights overseas, Michael Thompson has, Carnage is fighting overseas. Do you envision that happening for you as well?
Yeah, I'm in talks with a few promoters and a few people. There's a bit of talk of one in England. I've got a baby on the way, which sort of put a hold on things.
You come from a sporting family, like back in the 70s, your uncles were playing A-grade football in Brisbane, and from what I understand, you weren't the most popular man in the world when you gave up footy to begin Muay Thai.
No, yeah, like my family's a huge rugby league family. Everyone played it. All the boys, every cousin, all my brothers, you know, everyone, there just wasn't any other option, you know. As soon as we were old enough to walk, we were passing the football. I gave it up and started doing boxing. My granddad was a boxer. I always loved it. I went down to a boxing gym to do boxing, and I went there and they had Thai boxing there. So I started that. My whole family just was, you know, no one even knew what Thai boxing was, you know. So they hated it until they sort of started seeing some results, but I think it worked well with me.
With your training, Daddy Kool, you've been with Nugget from day one?
No, I was at a gym out at Sanford where Nugget used to come to a lot for seminars. I remember he'd come out with Soren or one of their younger boys, Craig Hogan. Yep, at the time, and unfortunately that gym that I was at started decreasing in numbers and was, you know, going under, so Nugget said, look, picked a few of us. That was it, that's when it started, and that was just a whole new level. Like, I'd never seen people train like that.
He's done well for himself too. Nugget's currently going to Germany, and he's got Evolution back on the road, and that is massive news for the Australian fight scene. Nugget's kicking more goals than Tony Lockett at the moment.
Yeah, that's right, he's doing really well. It's good to see. He's always put so much effort into us boys and put himself, you know, knocked himself back, but now he's really starting to go forward and getting the recognition and the things that he deserves.
With your fight on the 4th of October now, who are you matched up with?
I'm fighting a Thai called Aparak Corporate Box. I fought him at the start of the year. I got elbowed in the face about 30 seconds into it and had to forfeit the fight through the cut. Yeah, it didn't really get underway, so it made sense to have the rematch.
Yeah, it does make sense. The Daddy Kool persona. Now, I've always wondered, was that one of your ideas, or did Nugget think of that?
That's actually, yeah, it's Nugget's idea. So what happened was we were in the gym one day, me and the pimp that walks me out.
Yeah, I'm sure that's Brendan Short.
Yeah, no.
And it's not. I reckon that's him in retirement.
No, well, he can jump in anytime he wants.
How am I going? Do I get a start?
Yeah, you're doing a good job. Might have to call you up.
Yes.
So yeah, we one of the guys had Daddy Kool as his ringtone, and we were just dancing around to it.
That's a great idea. It adds a bit of colour to the show. We've got a couple of entrances in the background showing at the moment, but yeah, it adds a bit of colour to the show. Like we can't all come out to Eye of the Tiger or something tough. Coming out to Daddy Kool's a great idea.
Well, Nugget actually dared me to do it. He said, "I'll give you $100 if you can't do it."
Yeah, fair little.
Keep it. I love that song.
He's never offered me $100. I'll have a word to young Nugget about that. This big weekend of fighting, on the night before, on October the 3rd, we have Eruption 10, and that's Paul Demicoli's show. They've got a massive main event for that, and we have Chad Rattles Collin going up against Benaya Duma. Now, Chad will go in as a heavy favourite with the form he's in, but what is different about this fight, I think, is that Benaya, instead of taking it on a day's notice or a week's notice, has had a 2 or 3 month prep. And why Chad will be favourite, I think Benaya's going to be there to fight. It's going to be a good matchup.
It will be. That Chad Collins is doing really well. I've kept my eye on him for a while now and been impressed. But Benaya's just, he's had more fights than hot dinners.
Yeah.
The thing is, he does take him. He's always fit. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke as well. So he's always fit. He's one of those guys that'll just jump in. But now that he's got a bit of time, and I think it'll be a good fight.
I reckon it'll be a great fight. With the weight division you're fighting at, we've still got Michael go up against Kevin Ross recently. Is Kevin in your weight division? Maybe is that a possible fight you could look at in the future?
He's a little bit heavier than me.
He's big for his weight too.
Yeah, well, I've spoken to Tomahawk. I do a fair bit of sparring with him, and he said that he was quite big and cut a lot of weight, even for Tomahawk. So if we could get a catch weight, then yeah, for sure.
That would be good too. Okay, well, once again, a lot of Daddy Kool's fans will be coming to see him at the Preacher Fight Night on October the 4th. That's going to be good. And Daddy Kool, I'd like to thank you very much for coming on the show. You're busy training for your fights, but you still take your time out to talk to people and to help out.
No worries, mate. Anything I can do to help.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was a great show today. I'd like to thank our guests. And at home, you've just watched another episode of the Sledgehammer Fight Show.